Okay, look, right? What's going on? Now, here's the thing. Technically, this one shouldn't actually be coming out till next month. However, I thought with the last video, technically not being a gaming video, and most of these videos are supposed to mainly, primarily be around gaming, I thought it would only be fair if I actually do one on gaming for this month anyway. So, you're getting one at the end of the month, as long as I actually edit this in time. I mean, look, okay, do you know what the thing is? It varies how early I end up recording some of these. Like some of these I'll record very early, and some of these I'll record a bit later on, closer to the day where I actually need to be uploading it. So yeah. And in terms of this, look, firstly, the other mask that I wanted to put on, I can't because my head is too effing big for it. For real. Also, look, right. I mean, the ultimate life form, is there really even a problem with this? I mean, look, here's the thing. As far as like Sonic goes, I have to admit, like Shadow isn't even my favorite. He's second, but number one is Metal Sonic, and I don't think anyone will take over that. But yeah, I mean, look, the ultimate life form second, and to be honest, it'd probably look a lot more weird. But I mean, look, this is only possible because my hair's done. You know what I mean? Like, now we actually look cool. Either way, all that yap out the way, I thought that we would talk about a game that, sadly to admit, in the world of Souls-like and Souls games, it's got a pretty rough time. Because in the game filled with amongst of like kings, titans, this game is sadly only a prince. It can't compete because all the big dogs are big dogs. This one, and don't get me wrong, it's no Chihuahua, but it ain't no German Shepherd. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a bit unfair that this is put into a league of like, it's like the League of Villains, bro. I mean, it's like the Justice League, and then you have flipping who's someone who isn't like Green Arrow, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no offense to those who love Green Arrow, but like this game, that might even be a bit too disrespectful, to be honest. I don't know who more to. Regardless, we're talking about a Souls game or Souls-like game that and to be honest, I'm just gonna say Souls-like for the rest of this video, because saying Souls and Souls-like is just using too much of my breath. But this one is, like I say, one that I've played and I enjoyed it a lot, and it's just one that, once again, I just think it's kind of unfair because not many people look at this one because it's surrounded by titans. And you know the titans that I'm talking about. We're talking Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, Sekiro, Bloodborne. Like, these are absolute bangers of games, and yet this one doesn't really get looked at because all the other ones are just, well, they're too known, they're too good. And see, that one is the one, the only, none other than Lies of P. Okay, Lies of P. I'm saying it. It deserves more ratings. It's not fair. Like, people should play it. Now, here's the thing. I finished Lies of P a little bit late last year. Okay, and no, I haven't gotten to the DLC yet, and I absolutely do want to. Okay, I 1000% will play that DLC. But if you were to look at my current rotation of games, and with the fact that I have uni on the side, there's just simply no time for it. Also, look, we're not even, I know at the time of this video it would have been some time now, we're not even going to talk about Tekken. We're not even going to talk about it. We're not going to address it because, I'm sorry to go on a little tangent here, there's already going to be enough people saying what I need to say that it doesn't even require me to say it. So, anyone who's expecting a video for me talking about Tekken, there's no point. There's literally no point, because I guarantee in the small time, at the time of recording this, the patch literally went live, I think like 3 days ago. No, 2 days ago. Well, depending on what side of the earth you're on. But the patch basically just went live, and I can guarantee in those 2 to 3 days, everything that needed to be said has probably already been said. So I'm not going to say anything about Tekken, nor am I going to do a video on Tekken, because it just doesn't deserve my attention. And once again, it's one of those where like everything that needs to be said is going to be said. Mind you, if there's one thing I do need to say, please, to the DOA flipping developers and the Virtua Fighter developers, I will be waiting. Okay, take your time. Make sure the game, is right when it comes out, but don't take too much time. I'm gonna need a new 3D fighting game to play, please. Regardless, let's get back onto Lies of P. Yeah, okay, it's the underdog. Okay, quite simply, easy way to put it, it is the underdog without a doubt. I know some people could say Demon Souls is, but I guarantee you, it's like Lies of P just really hit for me. Now, to all of you that don't know the basics, I don't know why I struggled with English then. To all you if you don't know the basic plot, you basically play as Pinocchio, okay? You play as Pinocchio, and you're living in this city called Kra, in which you have this life essence called Ergo that basically becomes a part of the daily life there, okay? Kra is essentially the main city, the big city. And if I was to compare Ergo to anything, it'd be sort of like the Industrial Revolution, the sudden increase in machinery. In Kra, Ergo was just all of a sudden used everywhere. And it was proving pretty useful. Like again, it was used pretty much everywhere in the main city. And it's one of those where Ergo allowed, Ergo isn't really a physical thing and it's more so like a life essence, but it's one of those things where, like again, it was adopted everywhere to the point where it even allowed for puppets to be made, in which you, Pinocchio, are also a puppet, except, you're a bit more of a special puppet than the others. And see, in Krat, as tragedy struck, okay? All of the puppets overnight in the city just turned, started lashing out, went crazy. Long story short, all the puppets just lost their minds and started killing and abusing anything and everything in sight. Okay, from the flipping mother with 3 kids to the man who's getting home from a long day of work. They went after everyone. And to anyone asking, yes, your father is Geppetto. I mean, look, it is more or less, taking just key elements of Pinocchio. You got Geppetto but either way, yeah, your father's Geppetto. He's the one that created you. And it's through playing the game and the decisions that you make that can lead to specific endings and whatnot. And see, my job is not only to maybe even just convince one of you to play the game, but just tell you why the game deserves to be given its flowers more, okay? So let's start off with something that originally I didn't even notice when I first started playing the game. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to playing a game for the first time, I try to avoid any sort of videos, shorts, any sort of media on that game. I don't try to see anything on it because I don't want it to ruin any part of the experience for me. And it's one of those where like it just makes for a better experience in terms of gaming if you just don't know what's going on. Obviously, if it's nothing that is like a big spoiler, then sometimes it won't really matter. But it's one of those where like you generally want to avoid spoilers. But see, when I saw this short that I'm about to show you, it made me realize just how the devs for this game, hey, I may be playing checkers, these guys were simply playing chess. See, the NPCs in the game, one of the things that, or sort of how the NPCs were being used in the game, or how the developers developed the NPCs to work in the game, is nothing short of genius. I mean, look, just listen here.
If you're finding yourself stuck on a boss in Lies of P, look back at the previous enemies you've encountered. The game does an incredible job of teaching you the skills you need to have before facing the next big thing. But it also does an equally great job of letting you move on without ever learning how to deal with X, Y, or Z. Anytime I run into a particularly frustrating enemy, I always consider, maybe I should run, or maybe just kill him once and then never again, right? Well, unfortunately, I think this game plan is a bit of a double-edged sword. Yes, you get to pass through an area a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, but when it comes down to it, you're going to be wishing you hadn't. Go ahead and look at this headless mannequin girl. I think you run into her twice, maybe thrice, and let me tell you what, that first time is an absolute pain in the rump, but I am oh so glad I went ahead and figured it out. About 30 minutes later, when I ran into the mad clown puppet, it turns out that one of his moves actually had the exact same parry counter. The attack may look completely different, but it's exactly the same timing. Here are the two attacks side by side.
See, the game will use the general NPCs and use them doing specific movesets, those very same movesets that can appear within bosses, whether it be a mini boss or a boss. Now, I know in the short it was a mini boss, but I guarantee that if I were to replay through the game, I could probably find an example of an NPC mimicking one of the moves or moveset of a main boss. The point being is that the NPCs in this game were more so given actual relevance. See, in any other Souls like, I can guarantee that most NPCs are just seen as a simple annoyance or an obstacle, something to not really pay too much attention to. But in this game, they actually gave them some worth. Now, is this meaning that you're now going to have to spend a bit more time on the NPCs? Yes. However, it actually sort of gives a learning experience. The NPCs are actually showing you something. They're giving you something of use. It's data to download. It's actually beneficial to deal with these NPCs. You know, we get to a moment where, you know, we don't like to fight every single NPC. And I'm not saying that you should do that when you play the game. Okay, I'm not saying fight every single NPC all the time. But I'm saying that these NPCs can very clearly be used of some significance to help you learn in advance one of the moves that a boss or a mini boss is going to have. And to that, I got to give the developers their flowers for it. Because to be honest, I don't think I could mention another Souls-like that does anything like this in the game. Now, to be fair, I have only personally played and actually beat Lies of P and Sekiro. Having played Elden Ring against my own will and not finished it, and it will stay like that for quite a while. Yeah. Then again, I cannot say for the other Souls-like games because I simply haven't finished them. But to be fair, I have watched some gameplay on them. Oh, I've watched gameplay on, all of them, to be honest. And I can't say from memory I know any NPCs that be mimicking some of the movesets of the bosses. So for this, I gotta say, Lies of P really got it going on. Now, to anyone who knows me personally, it's this single mechanism that made Sekiro by far my favorite Souls-like game of, you know, the entire Souls and Souls-like franchise. That being parries. This camera on me? Look, I've got to admit something. I'm kind of down bad for parries. Like, a good parry, it sort of gets me going, okay? Like, it's by far one of the things it's by far one of my favorite mechanics in a game, full stop. Like, I don't know what to do about it. I get the F back over there, man. And to be honest with you, that's about as far down as I'm going to put myself down when talking about parries. Because I know the guys are going to be watching, and to be honest, there's two other words I could have said instead. But had I said those words instead, the group chat, aka the council, would have found out about it and they would have put it on my criminal record for the rest of my life. And they would have never let me live it down. So it's one of those, like, no amount of community service would have, you know, got me away from what I would have said instead. So probably best for the both of us that I just say that I'm down bad for parries, okay? Either way. See, the thing is, when it comes to Sekiro, Sekiro did an amazing job at parries, okay? Not only making them feel good to hit and everything else about Sekiro, but when the parries start to be incorporated with other techniques, like the Mikiri counter and riding the lightning, or reflecting the lightning, it makes for some incredible fights, okay? Ganishiro, yeah, absolutely. Ishin the Sword Saint, when I tell you that that boss fight becomes so much more satisfying, it feels like a movie. Once you start implementing the basic parry, the Mikiri counter, and reflecting the lightning, it becomes one of the most satisfying boss fights to fight of all time. Genuinely, hands down. And yes, don't get me wrong, that man is a demon. He is dangerous. That is absolutely scary to fight against, okay? Tell me a man that's more dangerous than that, okay? The only other man I could probably say is Musashi Miyamoto. Apart from that, Ishin the Sword Saint is an incredible fight, especially once you start to implement everything. And don't get me wrong, Lies of P does not go to this extent, okay? But all Lies of P needs to make them hit good and satisfying to hit. And it's does this. The game does this absolutely. Especially because with the red timed attacks, you can only actually dodge them or parry them. You can guarantee with the universe on the line being pointed at Earth that I bet on parry every single time. Now, did the parlay hit every time? I'm not even gonna lie to you. It didn't. But it's about the risk that matters, okay? It's about the fact that I actually took that risk. Okay, call me Mr. Take That Risk. Look, the main point is that parries were once again, on top of the story itself, another very much worthwhile and satisfying experience. And it's something that, once again, I can only praise the devs for because it was something that was actually enjoyable. Like I say again, for someone who likes it a lot, and I enjoy parries a lot, having them be actually nice in this game, I can't compare them to Sekiro because that's quite simply unfair, but within their own regard, they were very much above standard, and I loved them. Okay, now the next one of these things I want to talk about is versatility. Now, here's the thing. I do want to preface this straight away. This is one of those ones that this isn't something that's only done in Lies of P. Okay? It's done in the other Souls-like and Souls games, okay? I know I said I wouldn't say that, but I just felt to preface it. This isn't something that is just done specifically in this way, and to be honest, this game doesn't even do it in a certain type of special way that makes you be like, oh, this is better than other games, or does it in a unique way that I'm like, oh, this is inherently, this is something new. If anything, it actually is kind of limiting, because to be honest, it doesn't mean that though it's limiting that I don't like it. I still like how the game goes about it. Within other Souls, like, if you want to be a guy who uses magic, use magic, okay? Don't allow what the community of the game tells you to do, okay? If you want to use magic, please use it. I am actually sick to death of people getting upset because the community says one thing. Play the game that you bought the way that you want to. If you want to use magic, use magic. If you want to be a flipping dexterity movement demon that like moves at the speed of light, do that. If you want to be someone who use a massive oversized weapon that your character very clearly should not be able to handle, then do that. Okay? Play the game how you want to. And like I say again, this is not something that Lies of P does uniquely. Like I say again, it's something that's kind of limiting because, for example, in Lies of P, you can't actually use magic. You're forced to use, a physical weapon of some kind. Now, in the start of the game gives you three options. You can either go for a strength build, you can either go for a balanced build, or you can go for a dexterity build. Those who know me easily know what build I went for, but yeah, it's the fact that you can go with one of these three starting builds in which they give you a certain weapon based on the build that you go with. And the thing is that, you're not tied down by this. Just because you picked it in the beginning doesn't mean you can't use your points, experience points, in order to, change the build up a bit. You could have started off with a strength build, but you decided that you start to want to lean towards dexterity more or something like that. Completely possible. And even once you get far enough in the game, you actually get an option to reset all your stat points. So, even if you did go down the strength build route and you get to that point in the game and you realize maybe you're not really feeling the strength build no more, you can switch to the dexterity build and do it like that. Or just completely try some other wibbly wobbly flipping whatever you want. Okay? It's really and truly up to you. You still have control as the player to play the game that you want to play in the way that you want to play it. And here's the thing, it also goes inherently with the weapons. Now, like I say again, this isn't something that this game is the only one that does, okay? You will have in other Souls-like games, the sort of weapons that you're probably only smart to use in a strength build because your character will actually have the strength to wield it and it won't waste too much of your energy. And so and so. Like I say again, this isn't something that just Lies of P does, but the way that it intertwines with the weapons is what I find cool. It's one of those things where, like, it's just a cool sort of jigsaw that sort of all comes together and all makes, the giant picture. It's cool, okay? I like it. And next again, the way that it intertwines with some of the weapons in the game, it's regardless cool as it is. Like again, and this is like the fifth time saying it because I know it's gonna go over someone's head. This isn't the only game that does this sort of thing, but it's one of those where I'm saying that strictly because of the fact that it's just I like how this game does. Like, yeah, is it slightly restrictive? Yes, but it still feels structured and it's not too restrictive. Okay, it's not like I'd say like Sekiro, in which Sekiro you can't really create a different build. However, Sekiro it kind of works because it's unique in that way. The fact that you can't change your build, the fact that you're stuck with one katana the entire way through, it's kind of cool in that sense. And it's not exactly like Sekiro, but it's not exactly like the rest of the Souls-like games. It kind of does its own thing. And sort of going on from the last point that I mentioned, weapons, okay? Some of the weapons in the games are actually so cool, especially some of the weapons that I used in my own run of the game. For example, one of the boss weapons that I can get is a weapon that has the ability to extend itself, so it has a further range, which I also thought was pretty cool because, you know, you don't really see, I feel like you don't really see that sort of weapon like that, where you can quite literally modify the weapon itself in order for it to allow you to hit from further. And then another weapon that I used on one of my runs, even though it's not really a strength build-esque weapon, oh, I sort of just gave away the build that I went for. I mean, look, I'm a fan of Berserk, okay? I'm a large fan of Berserk. Like, was it really much of a guess? But another one of the weapons that you can use is a weapon that if you time the heavy attack perfectly, it can actually parry an enemy's incoming attack, which, yeah, the timing to get this down is pretty difficult and it is quite a skill. But if you ever watch a YouTube video, or if you ever have watched a YouTube video of someone using this weapon, like, it is so satisfying, it is buttery, it's just incredible to see. Obviously, it's hard for someone to understand who hasn't watched Lies of P how difficult it is to time it, but if you're someone who plays the game and you end up getting the weapon, please just give it a try, because you'll very quickly come to understand just how impressive it is to hit those parries when you've actually used the weapon for yourself. Mind you, like again, it's not a normal parry. The heavy attack leads into a parry. So getting the timing right for the end of the attack for it to parry with someone's incoming attack, it's very slim, but it is so good when done done right. It's just crisp, it's incredible. I love it. And also another weapon that I used that, to be honest, doesn't really have anything too special with it, except for the fact that it looks like the hunter's base weapon in Bloodborne. So, I used the weapon so much and I enjoyed the weapon so much that I actually decided to install a mod to make Pinocchio look like the hunter from Bloodborne. And yes, hopefully, if I'm not lazy enough, I will actually be showing you these weapons in the game. Maybe me using it or whatnot, but well, I'll probably show you the last one, seeing how I installed a mod to make, Pinocchio look like the hunter from Bloodborne. But yeah, like, it's one of those things, like, say again, it's not unique to this game, okay? Apart from that first weapon, I've never heard about that before. But in terms of weapons, catering to certain builds, it's not unique to this game. But I do like how it is done. Okay, I like the fact that there's a weapon in which the heavy attack ends with a parry. That's something I haven't heard of before. It's unique and it's pretty cool. And also, just because I'm using the strength build doesn't mean I can't use that weapon. Yes, will the boss fight take longer? Yeah, but it's still a very cool weapon. I mean, it's just one of those where I like how the weapons are done in this game. I like how the weapons are made. It's one of those where the weapons are cool in this game, and I truly did enjoy it once again. Also, to add in on top of that, to be honest, is the whole thing about the grinders. Now, don't get me wrong, the grinders and having to sharpen your weapon, annoying, but I also find it a unique and cool mechanism in the game. Okay, I did enjoy it, and though it is especially annoying to have, especially when your weapon starts to run out of its durability in the middle of a boss fight, trust me, it's annoying. And I'm someone who, as of recently, has actually been playing Monster Hunter Wilds, which, trust me, I've been enjoying that quite a lot. The exact same thing happens in Monster Hunter Wilds. It's annoying, but I also find it cool because of that sense of realism. Also, in Lies of P, the whole thing that you can imbue your weapons with certain ailments and whatnot that you end up gaining throughout the game. That is also pretty cool. I enjoyed that about the game. Like, again, the weapons package as a whole, incredible. I loved it. It was another, you know, Lex again, it's not unique to just how Lies of P do it, but it's something that they did very well once again. Trust me, I'm giving these guys a lot of flowers. And seeing how I was speaking about bosses a bit earlier before, like I say again, I mean, look, some of the boss weapons that you can get and whatnot, pretty flipping cool. I enjoyed using some of those or looking at some of those anyway. And I like how the game has a mechanic in which whenever you defeat a main boss, you can either use it to get a boss charm or to get a boss weapon. Because, you know, some of the boss weapons, like again, one of them I used in my own run of the game. I think two of them actually. But some of the other ones are also pretty cool. And like again, caters to certain builds. But that doesn't stop you. Now, having said all that about bosses, I think it's only fair that we actually talk about some of the bosses themselves. Okay, and this is when we're gonna get, you know, we're gonna start getting a bit serious because this is the creme de la creme. Okay, apart from the other characters we get to meet in the game, this is the creme de la creme. Okay, this is the cake you want to be eating. And what other memorable boss could we start off talking about than the Parade Master, the very first boss in the game? Having a very good first boss, I think, is absolutely crucial to a game because it's what can keep someone playing longer. You know, it's unlikely that someone will drop a game instantly just because of the first boss, but most likely people are more encouraged to keep on playing a game if the first boss is a good boss. And the Parade Master was a good boss, okay? I enjoyed it. I really did like it quite a lot. It was a good first boss that just kept me, you know, locked into the game. Then we've got the Black Rabbit Brotherhood, which, sorry, it may have just caused some trauma to some viewers. Look, all I can say, you and me both, okay? You and me both. And don't even get me started on Laxasia. I may have said her name wrong, Laxaxia or Axia. Look, she was a demon of a boss fight. I loved the design, hated actually fighting her. Straight speed, flair, finesse, everything crazy about it. And then you got Simon Manus himself, or let me say what became of him as he decided to merge. You know, just your casual run-of-the-mill human wanting to become a god and doing everything it takes to become a god sort of thing. But you also got to add in the fact that it was in the pursuit of science to sort of dilemma. You know, you can't ever leave that part out. And then you also have the Nameless Puppet, which let me not say too much because the fact that, you know, I don't want to spoil anything in regard to the endings of the games or whatnot. And plus also, you know, the Nameless Puppet, the Nameless King. I mean, if that isn't a reference, I don't know what is. And how could I forget the most iconic, like, boss fight of all time? Probably one of the biggest sellers for Lies of P. The one, the only, mind you, when I say his name, it may cause some PTSD so for some viewers. So just to let you know, you have indeed been warned. But we're talking none other than the King of Puppets. Okay? Including Romeo. In which you fight him in an opera house. And yes, very clear reference to Romeo and Juliet. What can I talk about? I can say nothing less than iconic for that boss fight. Okay? That boss fight genuinely was as annoying, painful, and intense as that boss fight was. It absolutely is one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT, when we talk about the boss fights within that game. Okay? And like I say again, you and me both, my friend. You and me both. Now, I don't want to go on for too much longer, as I do think the Danganronpa video truly has traumatized me, and I know I said I weren't going to make any more jokes about that, but this only felt right. Before I wrap this video up in a beautiful bow, there is one more aspect that, I mean, if you haven't already noticed, it's the characters, okay? The characters that you get to meet, whether it be in or outside of the hotel, from Genie to Polendina. I don't actually think I'm going to remember all of these. From Geppetto to Polendina to Eugenie to Antonia. And there is one more that I'm missing. I can't even believe I forgot this name, but the queen, the GOAT herself, Sophia. Okay, regardless, my point is the game does an incredible job at making these characters just give them actual life. personalities. Next, again, some of the interactions that you have with them, it's nice to see that they've actually spent time giving each one of these characters things that's worthwhile actually learning about them, making them actually, you know, sort of have life, if you will. You know what I mean? They're not just boring characters that we can just push to the side. They're characters that we can actually get to know about and learn about and actually be interested in as we spend our time going in and out of the museum. Museum, hotel. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some faults I could point out, as well as some more good talking points I could talk about. But we simply don't have the time for it. Okay? I'm not going to make the joke again, but you know, if I were to make that joke, just know I'd say it right now. And if there's one thing I would want you to take away from this, just consider giving Lies of P a chance. I know that there are all these other games. I know there's Elden Ring. I know there's Sekiro. I know there's Dark Souls 1. I know there's Dark Souls 3. I know there's Bloodborne. Even if you don't own a PlayStation, then I guess that's 4. I know that you may not have access, or well, no, you may already have access to those games. But if there's one that I could just say, please give it a go, it would be Lies of P. Because like I say again, from the beginning, I just don't think this game has been given its flowers. And it's one of those where I think people really should give it a try, because I think people would genuinely enjoy this. Okay? It's, you know, it may never get to be king, but a prince, regardless, deserves their recognition. Either way, this has been your boy Genie, and I will see you guys next month. See ya.